Alright guys, this is going to be about one of the more fun parts of going fishing is it's eating your fish. As you can see in the picture, I got two redfish there. Caught those in East Matagorda Bay, right outside of the town of Matagorda. And what I want to talk to you about before we get into cooking it is how to clean the fish to get them able to be cooked this way. I'm going to be showing you how to cook what is called redfish on the half shell. Generally, when you clean a fish, you start right behind their gill plate, you cut down to the backbone, and you cut down towards the tail of the fish following that backbone, and right when you get to the tail you stop, and that's when you flip it over and you get the meat out of it. When you cook redfish the way I'm going to show you, go ahead and cut that fillet off, and I will show you in the next picture what that's going to look like being done. So in this picture you can see that I've got 3 fillets laying on the plate there, and the reason I held that one up is so you can see that you can have the scales on the fish. It's actually how we're going to cook them. So the scales will be on the fish facing down throughout the entire time that you prepare it, when you cook it, and as well as you eat it too. These are all the ingredients you'll need to cook redfish on the half shell. As you may know, there's probably 100 different ways to cook it. This is my favorite. In my opinion, tastes the best. Starting from left to right, you can get any type of generic lemon juice you want. Get some salt, black pepper. In the middle there is some blackened redfish seasoning. It's made by Paul Prud'homme's, available in most grocery stores. A little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, some Worcestershire sauce, and some butter. Lay them all down, of course, as we spoke of, with the scales down, and the meat is firmly attached. You don't have to worry about it going anywhere. Go ahead and give it a real firm dosage of that lime or lemon juice, whichever you prefer, and then on top of that sprinkle some salt. After you get that done, you want to place that in the refrigerator for a good solid, I'd say 15 minutes or so, just to kind of let that settle in and let that salt get down there, break the meat up, and do a little work. When you get it out of the refrigerator, keep in mind you've already got your lime or lemon juice on the fish as well as your salt. Then go through and put the rest of the ingredients on. There's no special order. I generally put the Worcestershire sauce on first. If you do that correctly, you'll see that the fish, as soon as it gets the sauce on it, turns to that brownish color of the sauce. When you've got every part of that fish fillet that brown oily color, you've done well. After that, go ahead and put your onion powder, garlic powder. Finish off with, as you can see, a pretty fair shake of the Paul Prud'homme's redfish seasoning. And then take you some butter and cut it up into some very thin, 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch at the thickest butter, little strips there, and just put them across the fish. It doesn't have to completely cover it, just evenly space them, so when you put these things on the grill and it heats up, that'll kind of slowly melt down and stay on the fish. Now you see the whole mindset about cooking a redfish on the half shell as opposed to a regular fillet of fish. A regular fillet of fish, everything in the fish, all the wet parts, they're going to fall out. They're going to fall into your grill. It's going to get dry. Having those scales on the bottom traps all of that moisture, all of your lime juice, your Worcestershire sauce, your butter, and holds it in the fish and makes it very juicy at the very end. Now, once you have all that done, you want to go ahead and put it in the refrigerator for a good 15 to 25 minutes. There's no specific time. The reason that I do it is just to kind of let everything settle in there on the fish. There's not, like I said, you can't really put it in there too short or too long, but I just like to give it some time to let all those juices kind of settle into that meat. Now generally, while I've got that sitting in the fridge, is when I start cooking my sides. As you can see here, I've got some corn and beans. Hell, you can use any sides you want to. I generally use those two. They complement the fish pretty well. I put brown sugar in my beans and put some butter and some Tony Chachere's on my corn. As you can tell, I'm definitely not the most healthy eater, but this meal will definitely make it worth it. Now for the fun part. Take all 3, 4, however many fillets of fish you have, put them on the grill. Now don't turn your grill all the way up to piping hot, all the way on high, low and slow. Put it down medium or low. Set them things on there and leave it alone. Now as you see this fish starting to cook, you're going to see all the butter slowly melt away. I believe on the left fillet you can see one little piece of butter up there still. When all that butter melts, and like I told you earlier, it's going to all get trapped into the meat of that fish, which will make it all the better. That's when you know things are starting to get close, and to keep an eye on it. Probably want to check on it every 3 or 4 minutes. In the next slide, I'll show you the indicators so you know that it's complete. Now this is important. So one of the hardest parts of cooking these is how to know that it's done. You'll see that it gets kind of darker colored on the top, and as you can notice, the fillet of meat will slowly start to separate from itself. On the top fillet in this slide, you can see it the best, right in between the word fish and separate. You can see that meat kind of pulling apart from one another, and that's how you really know that it's getting about right. Now when the meat's pulling apart from itself, as you can see in this photo, and the ends of the fillet start to raise and curve up a little bit, that's when you know you've got it done. You can go ahead and pull it off the grill and go ahead and bring it inside. Now this is when you'll plate the dish. Now keep in mind, the scales are still on this fillet. You keep it on there the entire time and you'll see the finished product on the next slide. And hell, you can do this with any fish you'd like to, as long as you got the scales on it, but it's got to be a hard scaled fish. Now catfish, it's not going to work. But if you use something, that's got hard scales on it, I've seen people do it with bass, multiple things, but redfish by far is the best. Hey, right here is proof. That's the way it's supposed to look. Empty plate, and I want you to pay attention. You can see how you just kind of take the meat out of there, and that scales kind of leaves it just like a little bowl. Eat it right off of there. You just get it with a fork. You barely move it, and it just falls right off. The back side of his scales and the little membrane beneath it will stay there. But as you can see, that's how it's done.